Welcome to Insightful Journeys, a podcast that explores the remarkable stories of individuals who are shaping the world around us. I'm your host, and I'm excited to introduce our guest today, Loyiso Bala. As a renowned singer, Loyiso has had illustrious music career, but what's truly inspiring about Loyiso's story is his willingness to take risks, adapt, and pursue new opportunities. From the stage to the boardroom, Loyiso has made a bold transition, earning an MBA and becoming a business leader in his own right. His journey is a testament to the power of resilience, determination, and a growth mindset. In this episode, we'll delve into Loyiso's story, exploring the lessons he's learned, the challenges he's overcome, and the values that drive him. We'll discuss his music career, his transition to business, and his insights on leadership, innovation, and personal growth. So sit back, relax, and join us on this insightful journey with Loyiso Bala. Mr. Bala, welcome to Insightful Journeys.
Thank you so much.
How's it?
No, I'm good. I must say I've been enjoying, just some of the episodes that you've had. What I really liked as well was the one we Mamuno Xolo,
Oh, yes. Yes.
And I was like, I'm sure this was not supposed to go like this. I'm sure.
Exactly.
But that's the beautiful thing about podcasting.
Yeah, it was
Well done
impromptu.
to you. Well done to you, my friend. You are a trailblazer in everything. But otherwise, no, I'm fine.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
To answer
And
your question.
I don't want to replay what happened last week, and you end up interviewing me to say, let's continue. Yes, thank you very much for making time. We know very well that you are extremely busy. You were supposed to have left for Port Elizabeth yesterday, but you slept over because you wanted to make time and come to us. And we thank you for that. Can you just take us back on your journey? I know you've done 101 interviews.
So good.
But with this particular one, I just want us to take us back and share with us, what sparked the passion for music back in the days.
So I grew up in a musical family. Or not just, the music didn't start with Umama no Tata, but it started with, Tamkhulu before. As a matter of fact, Umama no Tata met because they were singing together.
Okay.
Utatake was a great friend, Kamalume Wam, my uncle. And so, it's weird because you'd never think that your friend will hook you up with his sister.
Yeah.
So Guti, that was definitely like some sort of a divine intervention. And so with both of them coming together to sing, we were born into music. Utamkhulu was a composer. Epostile, they have a lot of they have a lot of choirs.
Socially.
Batandega.
Yeah.
And so, Tina, we obviously grew up with that, with many choirs always coming to a garage. Because Tamkhulu was not only just a conductor, but was also a composer. Ingoma zake are still being sung today. Epostile. And obviously Utata was very well known, formed many groups, many of the jazz legends, Eastern Cape, Bahamas, Utata. Upra Smarts,
Ngonyama,
yeah,
yes.
not that he's a jazz legend, but you always say to us, yeah. You'll never get to that place, Tata Wenu.
Wow.
So really, I started singing at a very young age. I could read music from the age of 3 because that's no notes most, because Tamkhulu would write the music, call us in to come and sing it before he then transcribes it onto the big brown pieces of paper that he used to put up in the garage. I didn't know that the garage was actually for a car. I thought it would be choir.
Wow. Because there was no car.
Yeah, we never had a car.
Doso,
yeah.
Tiso reso, so la ti do.
Tiso reso. Well done. I can
Yeah, there's a bit of influence.
You know
yeah.
this one, yeah. And everyone sang, man. You know, music for us. I didn't think it would actually become a career, but it was definitely like it was recreational. You know,
Yeah,
in the same way that I guess our children will go now and they'll play. They'll go and play sport. You know, that's how they hook up with their friends. Tina Xoxa Sidibene, it was always music.
Yeah.
It was always music. I mean, kwakuculwa kitchini. Everywhere we were, someone would just start a song, and then that's what it was. It's what we did, and never actually quite knowing that this would turn out to be a career. So that's why, it goes back to your question in Doba, like what sparked it. I kind of feel like I was born into it, and then at one point I had to make the decision to obviously carry this through.
Okay. Yeah, and you were born into it, and then you decided to refine it. So can you take us through that? How did you then transition from that point of singing in the garage, coached by the parents, to a point where you now took it to another level?
Sasicula ke as a family. A garage was obviously with utamkhulu, with all the choirs coming there. But otherwise we always sang as a family. There were four. It was Utata, Umama, Upingi, Nozwai. They sort of like were the group. One takes soprano, alto, tenor, bass, and so I'd always be the one who comes in to then sing whatever was in my head. And we went to go sing everywhere, whatever was happening. We'd always be invited to come and sing. So I attended a lot of weddings and funerals. Same thing. But he has known Uto, can Puto, and then off we go. And so it so happened after our dad passed away that we went to go live with Putluando. Putluando is my cousin. At the time he was about 19, 20, but definitely younger than 21. He was looking after umama wakhe, and his whole family. He was sort of like the breadwinner in the family at the time. But really, like I think that's the first time I came across the love of Christ. You know what I mean? Like actually really experienced it for myself. And Upurlwando was very passionate about us, and so because he knew so many people, he was such a great servant at the time, and at that age, I mean, he was a petrol attendant, and people would literally, whenever they come, babuze Upurlwando, and even the the white folk of the 80s, where's Lwando, and he knew everyone. So because of his nature, he had a lot of relationships. People took a great liking into him. He took us to Shell Road to Fame. I remember the one time he actually, through other connections that that he had, I actually got to record my very first song, Dina 7 at that time, Mama Come Back, in studio. And that song was written by Osizwe Zako. So the following year, I actually met with Rebecca, who was also in Shell Road to Fame the year that I was. I went to the semifinals, Uzwai, and I went to the finals. And so Rebecca, when I meet her, she's like, Sis Rebecca, yeah.
But it's in a la carte.
In a la carte, gospel. And she comes to me and she says, how now, Lomfana? Ngoma yam. And I said, no, sisi. Ingoma yam lena. When you covered it. But I'm asking, cover by Indon, So she literally on the first album covered the song that I recorded the prior year. So it so happened that the time Uzwai, he went to a colored school at the time. There came some sort of an article. He'd probably tell the story better. So in when he's sitting on the seat, about the whole competition that there was in order to get boys to a Dragonspec Boys Choir. And so when he got the place, there was a scholarship that came from Ushel. and this was through Putlando's intervention, you know. So that's how I then obviously, you know, my music then went to the next level, because afterwards I then followed. Not that, you know, the school makes you like a great musician. I believe that it teaches you how to read and write music, and how to control your gifting. That's always very important. You know, some people would be like, yeah, but you don't have to go to school for everything. I hear that a lot, you know, but people still need to grow, and you cannot grow by yourself. Something needs to come, something needs to impact you from the outside for you to, you know, for you to grow. And maybe just while I'm still, you know, like just while I'm still here, you can have a child who's a great athlete, but you need to take that person to a coach so that they can hone that skill and teach them, you know, like, and teach them control. A lot of us, you know, we know, Guti, this child is going to be a preacher one day, but they still need to go under, you know, some form of authority, someone who can teach them and guide
coaching,
them.
mentorship.
Because that child that you see now as, like, you know, being such a great liar, and they literally can get anything that they want, maybe it's because their skill wasn't really quite honed. So I thank God for that opportunity that I got, that I've had a lot of, you know, mentors and teachers along the way. You, one of my mentors as well, you know. Sometimes, you know,
In music.
yeah, not in music, but like, you know, in broadcasting, you know, because I think when you got obviously into business, it's like the mentorship role kind of changes, but definitely now it's you on that side, and it's important to always see that, you know, to always see it in people. So in other words, it's like when I look at Keith, like, Keith is my friend. Do you know what I mean? We've been through a lot. I mean, since I was 19 years old, you know, and you were a young man. We're still young men, but very, very young men. But I need to realize, I need to separate Keith, my friend, and also Keith, the anointing on Keith's life. Do you know what I mean? And I need to give you the respect at that time, because it's God through you, and there's something for me. So I need to always just kind of be so careful with that familiarity. It steals from you, and especially because of what people have. You know, if, for instance, me and a friend would go into, you know, the same job, but then suddenly they become my line manager. I need to realize that, because it is a gifting. I believe that God puts people in positions, you know, like in positions of leadership. I need to realize that, so that you can gain what God has purposed for you. And you need to give them that respect, not be like, I will tell this one, I'm slanging. You told me I must. You know what I mean? You're going to lose something. You know what I mean? So I thank God for those moments, because I believe that it's those moments that have gotten me into the place where I am right now.
All right. And the Drakensberg did its part in your life, and then of course you moved to the next level. Your music career, it's common knowledge that it has spanned many years and genres. What drives your creativity, and what is it that inspires you to continue making music?
I love the creative process more than the performance.
Okay.
I love putting things together. That's why, you know, I always identified myself first as a composer, before I saw myself as a singer.
Okay.
And, you know, I went to a school where predominantly, this is after Drakensberg.
Okay.
You know, everyone, you know, used to play rugby and especially because at Drakensberg was all about music. So music kind of gave you a status. You know, sport gave you a status. Yes, of course, if you were a singer, you were just, you know, like, you were just a singer. So
this now since Tithians?
Since Tithians, yeah. And during that time, because you know, you kind of become small in a very big school. I mean, I went from a school of, like, you know, 100 students to a school of 1,000 students. And so to build my confidence, and what I loved was writing music. So music for me, for someone who didn't talk a lot back then, for someone who used to stutter back then, from someone who had a low self-confidence back, you know, back then, music for me sort of became my outlet. It became like a diary. So the songs that I wrote back then, you know, Girl Without a Name, and Waukona.
Yeah.
When I wrote Girl Without a Name, when I wrote Musuku Kala. I was not a recording artist then. I didn't even think that people would ever get to hear these songs.
Yeah.
For me, I wrote those songs for the sake of writing, but not for the sake of singing them.
Yeah.
That became a bonus, you know. So what drives my and I guess there also is some form of a connection that we have with God, you know, when we create, because He's the ultimate creator. I mean, everything that
Certainly.
we see,
Yes.
He is the ultimate creator.
Absolutely.
And the wonderful thing about being connected to the creator is that what you will create in the next 5 years is still going to be relevant for that time. Because we always say, but will this person still be relevant when there are other new people? Do they really know what's connected? Let me tell you now, yes, of course, we don't know. I mean, like, we don't watch what everyone else watches anymore, you know? Sort of like, we may not be like in the scene. We may not know what's fashionable. But when you connect it to God, who's the creator now and will always be the creator in the future, whatever you do will always be relevant. So I hope that answers your questions of like, what keeps me motivated,
Yes,
you know
yes,
what I
yes.
mean? Like to really create, yeah.
Yeah. And then before I delve into your transition from music to business, now that you gone past St. Stithian College, and then we saw you with the TKZ family. We saw you on Jam Alley at the time,
Hey.
singing the same song,
Who missed Jim A?
Girl Without a Name. And I must share this particular story because was it 97, 98? Because in Port Elizabeth, you used to stay at Dwesi, and we used normally take taxis to Central and all that. And then all of a sudden, after Jam Early, you can't take a taxi now. People, they like... Otherwise, when they text, abantu bonke beza kuwe, abanye abanxibe i-night kwakusasa, they want you to sign a long queue. And I would say, guys, he's tired now. Can I sign myself? We don't know. Who are you? Yeah. Can you take us through that transition to the so-called fame?
Yeah. So after I sent Stithians, they actually invited me. They the school actually paid. Well, I mean, actually, what happened is that okay, here we go. So after St. Stithians, I stayed for an extra year.
Sure. Okay.
And that year was to help out with the choir, to help out the music department, but then also part of that was for me to then sort of kind of do my undergrad at that time. So it's like a student. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
I don't know what actually was happening, but I was there.
Okay.
You know, still at Reyes, but obviously staying in like in a different place to the boys themselves, you know. And I think it was post-matric. Yeah, that's what it is. Post-matric, yeah. And that was the time when TKZ blew up, guys. I remember the guys, Pango 1996, and Cesar Skolweni, since the years. So I came back from. So I was supposed to come for holidays because he was in Scotland at that time, studying there. Man, he's not going back. All of us are going, why is I not going back? And then Ngoko is into this Kwaito thing that everyone is doing. And he brought in Otukulo. Ukabelo was just always there. Ukabelo and I think he was in the same place that I was in 98. And then they're like, they're going to form a group. And they did their first album.
Take It Easy.
Yeah, Take It Easy. Yeah. And Shaman, and they were pushing and nothing was happening. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, these guys should just give this up. So I must go back to Scotland, finish his degree, and then get into the classical stuff. But they were adamant. When that thing blew up, I mean, it was like an absolute life changer, for them. And so after St. Stithians, although in the sepa for a post-matric, so then I used to go and visit the guys, Man, I learned a lot. I thank God that there were those three gentlemen who walked before me, because I learned what to do and definitely what not to do.
Sure. Yeah.
You
Sure.
know, so it was insightful journey. It was an
Yeah,
insightful
it was
journey.
insightful journey.
And so, you know, I never thought to go to Mhlambi, this is the kind of, I mean, like, obviously I admired the success,
Yeah.
but I wasn't sure whether this is the sort of a life that I would want to live, like a lifestyle, because they were my only example of what the music industry is like, you know. And so I'd written the song Girl Without a Name. You'd heard it before even we recorded it.
Yes.
Zwei Artige, Mamela Man, we're doing this TK, we want to do this TKZ family album. Second go 99 go.
Yeah.
And so don't you want to just come and record that song as a part of it? And so I go there and then I realize, okay, cool, no, this is like a concept album where they've taken their friends and obviously me, you know, as a brother, and there's going to be some form of a group, but it's still a concept album. Ndingene ke phake, and they're like, okay, cool, we're going to do one song, all of us together, called Fiasco, okay?
Yeah.
You know? So, Ndingene pa, and there are all these guys and they're just crazy. You know, I'm the youngest of everyone. I've still got my choir boy, you know, things. And so what happens is, so bangene, okay? You know, go to Dr. Mahe. You know, everyone goes in and they go to a mosque. Everyone's like, yeah, no, dimgo, you know. And so at the end, they're like, Lloyd, don't you have anything? The song is already like this is like already 7 minutes later because there are so many of us, you know.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, yo, ndiyoyika ngoba because ngizofika ndicule njengo R&B pha. And yet these guys are like, you know, the real McCoy, you know what I mean? And so I'm like, yeah, no, I wrote something Kombalinda Aizuva no viewers because Mosanditi radio only plays music. Especially commercial radio.
Yes,
3.5 minutes.
Duration,
3.5 minutes at the most. I mean, they're even 2 minutes.
Yeah.
We go to studio and they do a 2-minute song, and the song becomes a big hit. And so I go in and I do my part. Stop. Let me be your number one. You know,
it's a fiasco underneath the sun.
And so, what happens is, this was crazy because the guys say, okay, cool, we want to introduce you during our shows so that by the time the album comes out, you are going to, they would at least know who you are. So they were performing at the same venue, but like thousands of people. So then I go with them maybe 2 weeks before, maybe 2 weeks before, the week before. So what song are you going to sing? Because obviously we want to sing this song. And then I chose a Stevie Wonder song. Imagine, Kuko Arthur, Kuko Omar Shamblan, you know, the new Mashamblan. There's TKZ, who's like the biggest, and then Bafunuku Tinding and these are cool, you know, these are good. And so I thought, okay, cool, well, let me try this thing.
Was it off the wall?
It wasn't off it was none of the songs that I'd recorded. It was just a Stevie song. I forgot actually what song it was.
Okay.
So yo. Has funny TKZ when and it's funny because but the person who's against you would hear them very clearly. You know, in a crowd of like thousands of people. Then the bottles were beginning to come.
The negative becomes louder.
And so the bottles were beginning to come, but at least I finished the song and I ran off the stage. And I was like, no, these people don't accept me. Now I'm too R&B. You know what I mean? And then the album comes out, and then we go back to the same venue. So I'm like, hey, but at least go to Dickies. Because we're Dickies. Yeah, it's a sport in this mega so that they don't recognize me. But I know good Tim Klambi, when I start singing, I don't know how they're gonna take this. But the song now is on radio, right?
Yeah.
So I go on, get kissed, okay. With the guys, I am panicking, thinking, how are they going to accept me when I sing? I mean, like, by the time I sing. So it goes, then I get another verse, and when I went, stop, everybody went, let me be your number one. Yeah. So I promise you, right there and then, it's like something just switched on.
Yeah.
Right there and then something just switched on. I could have cried at that moment. I cannot believe. This part that I wrote in a place of fear, not knowing how it would be accepted, is now being sung at the first gig where the song is being sung, you know, that's when the bug hit. I was like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll take, I'll take up the career. I'm gonna do I'll do this thing. If
Yeah.
this is what it feels like,
Yeah.
then I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. So that's when then I decided, okay, cool. No, this is what I want to do.
Wow. And a follow up to that, then of course, as they say, the rest is history. But in 2010, I remember organizing a show in East London that I called Gospel Extraordinaire.
Was it 2010?
It was in 2010.
It was like just 2015.
No, believe me, because the follow-up one was in 2012, actually. Oh. So in 2010, I came up with that concept, and of course discussed it with my pastor and my church to say I want to do this gospel show, Gospel Extraordinaire. And then of course I think you went full circle in R&B. It
Yes.
was 10 years at the time.
10 years, yeah. I just had an album called Full Circle, actually.
Yes, actually, yes, that's the album. But the concept of Gospel Extraordinaire, I wanted to invite people that are known in gospel, and we chose Benjamin Dube, and then people that were known in R&B, but to come and sing gospel, and it was you.
Because I think with Brian Temba came
Brian
the following year.
No, the following year.
Yeah, the following year, I remember.
So you were the first one in that particular concept, yeah. So you came, and I remember you prepared 6 songs with your band, and I still remember the song "Jesus at the Center" that you guys sang, and the atmosphere was something that was totally different. And the years that followed, you switched to gospel music. Can you take us through that?
So, when I write, I'm gonna just take you through the musical part of it first.
Sure.
When I write music, I don't sit down and say, okay, cool, I'm gonna write a gospel song. I'm gonna write a gospel album. Like I said to you, it's what I'm feeling.
Sure.
It's who I am. So years before that, I found myself in a place of it's not doubt, but where you begin to question things. In your late 20s or even like in your 30s. I think although Lenja and Namhlanje, but I want to be like at 35. And I started to ask myself, okay, cool, what is the purpose? So purpose is a huge thing, And purpose is not defined by how much money you have. It's not defined by the applause that you're getting, because I had most of my applause were around 2008. I was at the absolute pinnacle. If you remember, I was now beginning to travel overseas, at tours. I was a great friend of Nelson Mandela Foundation. Yes. So that all the time, even used to be invited over to his, over to his house. And the purpose part was based on, but really of all the sacrifices, think from, my family, what they had sacrificed for us, Putluando, the mentors that I had afterwards, Zwei going to a Drakensberg, and what he had to endure so that it could be easier, for me. The people who invested into my schooling, because yes, it was on a scholarship, but somebody paid for that food, and so I sat and I went, was this so that I could be famous?
Okay.
When you get the fame and then you actually begin to question whether, is this really the purpose of it all, And I knew right there and then that I haven't had an impact, as much of an impact on people that I've had on myself. And I just thought, you know what, Lord, but my thing is not to impact people for 3 minutes, go without a name. But I want to make an eternal impact. And so that's when then, I think around that time, I had gone to Bible school. And that's when I began to really now begin to find purpose. It's funny because I went there to learn about Jesus. I mean, I went there to learn about myself, and what I found was Christ. That is all I needed to know. That's what someone says, define yourself. I don't know. I don't know how to define myself. What I know is that as he is, so am I. that I'm a child of God. Like that
Yeah.
is it, because I don't
Yeah.
know the kind of person I'm going to be in the next 5 years' time, because we're constantly being molded by challenges,
Yeah.
by things that we face. I don't know I'm going to be in 5, 10 years' time, but I know that I'll be relevant for that time and for what's going to be needed then.
Yeah.
So out of that relationship, I began to write music. Um, and out of that time, and I've noticed ukuthi man ezingoma ndizibhalayo kutheni njengathi zine-gospel phakathi.
Yeah.
But that's because I'd found the love of my life, which was Jennifer. You know what I mean? I didn't have to write any more love songs, guys.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I had no
Yeah.
more breakup songs, because
Yeah.
I wrote some great breakup songs.
I know.
I if breakup songs were the ultimate, Oh Musuku Kaya, those were breakup songs. All of those. Like heartache, I didn't have that anymore. I was eternally happy. It wasn't what I thought about all the time, like because we're yearning for that partner, someone that you love to be with you. But my mind, every time I wrote, it was just all gospel. So my gospel career was not. It didn't come out of a place of saying I'm going to shift to gospel.
Yeah.
It came because what came out of me was the gospel, and the gospel on paper, people then call it gospel music. So it was the same sound, but the message was different.
Well, you just mentioned Jen, and there is no journey without Jen.
Hey, come on, come on, I'll preach.
There's no Jen without Jen.
Hope you're listening, babe. You had.
Yeah, so she came into your life, and phakathi kwenu nobabini, you introduced to this life 3 beautiful girls. And then that was a definer, because now you're no longer that R&B guy only, but now you are now becoming a responsible father. And it's something that was foreign to you, but now it has been introduced to you. Navigate njani through that, and how are you holding up even today?
Let me tell you how, how foreign it was. I'll show you the difference. I was born into a family of mostly boys.
Yeah.
I went to a boys' school, Drakensberg, sang with boys. Then went to St. Stephen's College, boys' school. Yeah. Joined a group called TKZ Family. all boys. Yeah. So for me to just have girls, no on the right, man. Yeah. It's a breath of fresh air.
You've embraced all of them.
I've embraced all of that, but I have to tell you, there is no greater blessing than I could have received than my family. I look at them and I'm just like, people say it's a picture of you. They say your family is a picture of you. I'm like, no, this thing is much better looking than me. Do you know what I mean? It's almost undeserved. If I look at the person that I am, and I'm like, and out of this, God has blessed me with this. It's unbelievable. Like sometimes decently, I'm just looking around. I'm just like, how did this all happen? How did this, how did this all happen? It's as if it's not my family.
Yeah.
It's as if it's not my family because of how great and just how wonderful it is. I can never say, "Good, I planned it." When I met Jen, tell you the truth, I don't think I really sort of believed that marriage was for me. Not because I didn't want to get married. I just never thought that such a thing I would ever really feel. Because abantu abathandanayo has to be like, yeah, that is deep, and old tamkhulu nomakhulu, most labelungu again. Yeah. So on the TV, like they walking together. Yeah. Obviously, the last one was that which you have to know, mom. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that's something, that you look at and I used to be like, but how is that even possible? Because you get old and all that stuff. Yeah. And so I thought that, marriage is something that you decide on. It's a decision that you make. But when I met Jen and how different she was, I was like,
this is the one.
This person makes me feel
Yeah.
married, you know that it's not a moment thing. You know that it's an eternal thing. You know, so the person makes you feel like that.
Yeah.
You cannot go out there saying, I'm going to go look for a wife.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because some of the times, and I want to just kind of throw this here because I don't know how much time we have. Because you know, some of the times I always hear guys saying, "Yeah, you know, I'm looking for a wife material." But the anointing of a wife happens when you're married.
Yeah.
I didn't know how things were going to be. Like, for instance, planning like a True FM nasemhlobo wenen. I couldn't put it together. But I didn't have to worry because I knew that God is going to anoint me at the time that He puts me in, like in those seats. So that's why for guys who are out there, if you're still dating, you know, stop looking for that. I know, but you know, I don't think she's wife material because that anointing will come there. That's what some guys are like. You know, she used to be so much fun. She used to do so many things. Man. That's because it's not a girlfriend; it's a wife now. There's a wife anointing that's upon her that has changed her to become that. In the same way, I mean, the number of dad jokes. I have so many dad jokes.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm saying utata.
Yeah.
But that's because that anointing came onto me, and no matter how much I try to run away from it, I will always be with data when I'm when I'm with my children.
Yeah, interesting story indeed. But we cannot. It would be unjust for me not to ask you about JC, Jesus Collective.
Yes, sir.
So how did you get there?
The Jesus Collective. I had some tax issues.
Okay.
Around 2013. It was not an issue. I just needed to really just sort out my stuff.
Yeah.
Because Chromos, you know, as a musician, they don't. When we do our tax, we end up with always like a huge bill. So I needed someone who obviously could just sort of lead me and guide me. And so a friend, well, it wasn't a friend then, but through a friend, they said, I know this guy, Hilton Peterson. He can help you out. So I go and Hilton starts, helping me out. And at the end of that journey, I'm like, okay, cool. So how much is this all going to cost me? Because I mean, he's a tax guru. Probably, I'll say the top tax guru in the country.
Yeah, wow.
You know? So Hilton says, no, I'm not going to charge you. And I said to him, why? He says, no, the Lord spoke to me before you came here.
Wow.
I'm like, about me? I mean, this guy, Abantu, that he helps out and gets them out of out of trouble. These are people whose names we can't even mention. From back then, when is that? That's like 10 years, 12 years, 12 years ago. So he says to me, look, there's some ministry things I want to do back at home. And guess but now he wants to go do things in the Western Cape, where he's from. And so he says, please just come. I want to do like a 4 days of like a revival. And you can come. I've got a band, EPA, like the local guys, and let's see what happens. So I freely go, because now I want to get involved in ministry.
Yeah.
In ministry things.
The guys that you started with, Abo Mahalia.
Yeah, so the guys that we started with was Umahali Uspogazi, the late Spogazi Ngumal. And there was myself, so Tinek would obviously come and lead songs during this whole revival Enzekaya for 3-4 days. So Hilton then comes back the following month and says, man, let's do another one. He says, let's. I'm like, oh, get the flight and let me, it's yours. You doing this thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you always, Hilton always has that thing of the fact that this is ours, you know? And so we did it another month. Before you knew, it was 3 years later. And now we're moving around to all the different towns around Robertson, doing this. And then eventually says, no, we need to go we're going to go a little bit further towards Cape Town because Robertson is like, 2 hours away.
Okay.
When you're with Hilton, it takes an hour, but I won't say.
Yeah.
But it's about 2 hours away.
What's special about Robertson?
Hilton was actually born in Ashton, which is, I would call it a township. Yeah, township. I say Robertson. Robertson is known for wine farms.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful side. I think it's the Boerland, that part of the Western Cape. You know, it's and so I mean, it was crazy. Just what God was doing through Hilton in that town. I mean, when the crime rate goes down, literally as you're singing, then you know God is in the place. You know, we always say, you know, even if what we're doing is just so that one person could receive Christ, it's perfectly fine. But yes, but God is also a God of the storm. And although He speaks softly some of the times, He also does huge and amazing things that shift like worlds apart, you know? And so ke ngoku, now he was like, let's invite some more guys, you know? So so I reached out to a friend of mine. I mean, I reached out to a few guys. So I think Ernie, there was this even, you know, before Ukaya, Janine Price came through. There was Jonathan Rubain, you know, there was Neville D. So some of the guys that I knew, Guti, they would speak to that, you know, like to that market. And so when we saw Guti, we're actually doing this more and more. That's go Hilton. I says, you know what, we need to kind of give this a name, because if we're going to put up a poster, Yokoba, we're going to some place in Cape Town, people need to know exactly what is this thing. And then I said, and I think since it's a lot of artists coming together, why don't we call it the collective? And then Hilton said, well, I think Jesus must be at the center of it, so maybe then we must call it the Jesus Collective. Ukaya and I had an interview with him when the Gelak Clash Metro FM.
Yes.
And then afterwards I say, man, listen, we've got this thing called the Jesus Collective. He said, not to Ukaya said, yes, I'm coming. That you know, listen, I wasn't going to invite you to come and sing, but at least to come and experience. And if God leads you to join us, and then let us know. Or if you want to go up on stage, it's fine. But otherwise, you know, we'll cover everything, because we wanna believe that people are not booked for Jesus Collective, but that you are part of the family. You know what I mean? Like, that is something that you want to do as a ministry. Same thing with Ndogozo. I mean, Ndogozo, for me, that's like the queen of gospel. I mean, you know, in the same way that CC Winans, you know, is to gospel today, so relevant for every single time. People look up to them, but yet such a great ministry that they have. And I was so amazed at just how at home she became, because the Jesus Collective is not a joyous celebration. It's not like, you know, some of the big gospel groups who have great ministries, you know, but like who would go and fill up theaters. Then I would go to the marginalized of all places. Do you know what I mean? Where people would not even afford to see these artists, and that is where the ministry happens.
And they don't pay.
And they don't pay. No, they don't pay at all. We're planning a tour now. It will probably be the week after Easter. You know, where we're gonna do the Eastern Cape, and then see it towards the Western Cape, like a road tour towards there, and all of that stuff. You know, God has taken care of it. So people come for free, and they get the experience of being in a place that's just so spirit filled. So to me, that for me is the ministry part of it. I will cancel anything for Jesus Collective. I don't care even about Sekustoa. You know, we're gonna go sing at a place where we're gonna struggle. You know, I mean, like not struggle, but that, like, you know, there's the summers with the Jesus Collective. I think I'll always choose Jesus Collective, because that is now where I get fed. Everywhere else is where I give, but that is my feeding place.
Wow, I think we need a standalone interview just to focus on Jesus Collective. Now, as we conclude our show today, how did you find the transition now from being a performer to becoming a business leader? Were there any surprises or challenges that you didn't anticipate in that transition?
Challenges is what I face every single day. And you know, and I try to make myself, you know, feel better about them. Because you know, the Bible says that, you know, challenges build our it builds perseverance. Perseverance builds character, and character builds hope, and that hope never disappoints. So without challenges, you're not going to grow. Without being squeezed, you're not gonna grow. So I've challenged myself quite a lot. I think for the fact that in the height of my career, I decided to go back to school. Now, what I didn't say to you is that when I did the post-matric and all that stuff, and I was starting my BMAS, I had to leave all that stuff. So I didn't even finish. But now I'm coming in not to do music, but to do business, something I knew nothing about, to study business. And I knew Guti, and I'm like, when I get into something, I have to finish.
Yeah.
For my own sanity, I don't ever like to leave things unfinished. I'd rather put my fists up in the air and say I did it with scars, with many scars on me. But for me, the finishing it is so much more important. And so, going to, because cut a long story short, going to Henley Business School, I mean, lovely institution. I don't think I would have survived anywhere else because of because of who I was and what I knew at the time. To doing my postgraduate, degree, going into the MBA, which was not part of the plan. And that obviously then opened doors for me. To number one, being headhunted, by TBN as channel director. I did that for 2 years. Actually, I was telling the guys, because I went to go see them, I said, what you guys don't know is that someone else headhunted me during my time there, and it was a cushy job. Like it was it looked like the perfect job because it was exactly in line with what I did. It was going to be more money, and I didn't take it up because I knew that I wasn't done here. And maybe if I'd done that, it would have stolen the purpose that God had put me into TBN. And so after that, you remember, Kuti, I left TBN. It was 3 months. And you said, listen, there's an opportunity. What I'm at that time, but then also it would have a true FM in it. I was like, nah. I was like, me. I mean, it's Tosa something, the move back to Eastern Cape and take my family. The fact that Jen and I, we had children now, and I've got to move them to the Eastern Cape. And what's going to happen to my music career? And we looked at all the things, and I think up until the point where you began to understand where I was coming from. But that was my mind, but I had to pray about it. And then one day I woke up, I said, this doesn't make sense at all. At all, why I'm doing it. And so therefore I'm going to apply. And the guys will remember meeting it to when I was being introduced by my GE, Miss Nada Wochela. Thank God, because I came in during COVID. Sustainably masking. I thank God for that mask because I think it marked the out of place fear that was inside of me. The comment if I'm born at almost by the guys sitting there, all pastor, all the guys, all the to be introduced to their new business manager. And I could just see such a confusion in their face. I was like, inside the table, I myself am confused, but I'm here now, let's make this work. God has purpose for me to be here. And in retrospect, when I look back, man, I am so grateful for this journey. I have, if I haven't gotten anything, the growth that I have now and how much I understand Abantu, it wouldn't have been like that, The way I understand Abantu Basekhaya, the way I understand the people of the Eastern Cape, their struggles, their suffering, my prayers have changed and my fight has changed. Do you know what I mean? And I thank God for that because I now have a different purpose to the one that I had before. And I cannot say go to Lumdan was Eastern Cape if I do not understand my own people. Do you know what I mean? So I really thank God for that. It's been painful most times. And also it's been very challenging most times. It's afflicted a lot on me most times, but I look at myself now, and none of those fights that I went through have had a bearing on who I am because I'm a better person. I'm a better communicator. I'm a better fighter. The Bible says many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him from them all. And so because we are the righteous, there'll be many afflictions.
Come on now. But
God is going to deliver you. So I look forward to more afflictions. And I look forward to more to more victories, because with every victory comes a promotion.
There's a promotion hidden in every victory. Okay, now we're going to approach the podium where Mr. Bala
Sure.
will be summing up. Okay, Eknika umpako.
Huh.
All right, something that comes here from the heart.
One of the things that probably confuse people, I've seen this confusion more and more, is I can see that in their minds when they've heard my story, they usually ask, "Who are you?" One of the questions that boggle a lot of people is even this question, "Who am I?" Because life is all about identity. But the problem with that is that we end up going out trying to define ourselves according to our past experiences. I don't do that, and I know many of you are going to be surprised or shocked to hear that, because I don't know myself. Only the maker knows me. In the same way that you cannot ask a microwave who it is, you need to go to the manual and ask those who have made it who it is. But then you'll actually begin to realize that certain features of the microwave, you'll only get to know them as you experience them. And so I believe that with you, you don't know yourself fully. I do not know myself fully. You need to test yourself out in order to begin to discover who you truly are. What I'm trying to actually kind of get to is that if there's something that's in your heart and you know that it's probably different from who you are, I wanna encourage you to try it out. To try it out, just because they said to you, "No, you are too short to apply for this position. You were too stupid at school to go for that degree." I wanna ask you to test it out by applying. Don't ever define yourself by your past, but let God define you. And the only way we can do that is to take that step of faith. It's called the step of faith. You take the one step, and then faith kicks in, and then does the rest. If I never if I never applied for any of the degrees that I now have, all because I was like, but I don't have any qualification, I wasn't that clever at school, I wouldn't have known that I was actually going to be able to do it and then finish it. So when God says, "Test me," what that means is that take that step of faith, because you'll be surprised what's on the other side. I believe that, you may be in a different career right now than you're going to be in the future. There's something that you want, but you don't kind of feel like it's who you are, but you do want it. And I want to encourage you to just step in. Just step in and do it afraid. You may think that you are too old to do something. I would encourage you now to start it. I only woke up at 36 years old and I said, I'm going to go into business. I mean, who was going to, employ me at 40 years? But God had a plan. So it's never too late. As long as you are alive, there is a chance, there is a purpose. And that, my dear friends, will be the start of your insightful journey.
Wow, thank you very much. That's all the time we have for today's episode of Insightful Journeys. I want to thank Loyiso Bala for sharing his inspiring story with us. Your journey is a testament to the power of resilience, determination, and a growth mindset. And he himself said, it's never too late to start over, to learn, to change paths, or to embrace new opportunities. His transition is a reminder that it's never too late to pursue new passions and interests. His insights on leadership, innovation, and personal growth have been invaluable, and I'm sure our listeners and viewers will be inspired by your story. To our viewers, thank you for tuning in and being part of this journey. Join us next time on Insightful Journeys, where we'll explore more remarkable stories of innovation, leadership, and personal growth. Until then, stay inspired, stay informed, and keep shining your light.